Good morning, everyone. Matty with Elemental Magic here, and it's the end of Kaladesh Aether Revolt Standard, and in comes the new standard with Ahrmonket. Today is the day of bannings, and just going through my thing, a lot of stuff I had left over from Grand Prix Brisbane, because I have this random Aether Revolt booster box. So I thought I'll sell it. I could sell it. I could, I could try and just get a little bit of money off it. But I thought it would be more fun, maybe to send out the format by opening this bad boy for you guys here today. While I talk about what's been going on with me over the recent, just over the last week. So let's open this bad boy. So what's been happening? Basically, last weekend I won my first Pro Tour qualifier in paper, not counting the Pro Tour qualifiers online, and I won playing Mardu vehicles, or Mardu mid-range I think is probably more appropriate now. My take on the build, bit of sideboarding differences. Basically, I wasn't happy that it was a 2-deck format between Saheeli and Mardu, but I feel like I just had to play one of the best decks and learn the mirror matchup as best as I could. And I played the mirror a total of 4 times through the day, including in the top 4 and in the finals. So that practice really paid off towards the end. So I'm going in 7 weeks. I'm going to be playing Ahrmonket Sealed, RPTQ, and if we can top 4 that one, then it's exciting times. I'm going to be doing a lot of Ahrmonket Sealed leading up to this, so you guys have that to look forward to on the channel. If any of you are sort of sealed specialists, I'd love to hear from you, or give me any points and tips on my videos. So one of the things I'm going to be focusing on is sealed a lot, but also new standard. And I mean, that's played in modern, and a 1 in Constrictor. And there's that Dark Imitations, that Nicholas Bolas card. I don't think anyone's really going to be doing much with that. Not at the moment, not till Nicholas Bolas comes out. And the rest we have a Bastion Inventor. It's an interesting card. Anyway, so what we're going to be looking at today is the potential bans. And what bans do I want to see? What do I think is wrong with Standard? Standard is my favorite format. It's the only rotating format in Magic. The only rotating format. Even the newer formats that have been proposed that have, like, frankly not really gotten off to a good start. Even those formats, like I'm talking like your tiny leaders, your what is it, Frontier. These they're still not rotating. They're all eternal. They're all aimed to be eternal formats. People can play with their cards forever on them. And I mean, that's all well and good. That's all really nice. But the fact of the matter remains that a rotating format is what leads to innovation. So now, what's the biggest problem with Standard right now? Well, the biggest problem is because it's not rotating. Essentially, it's not rotating. We've got this really stagnant form. Well, it's about to rotate. Sorry. The problem with Standard right now is it was designed, and Wizards said that Standard is it's like the tap out format. It's the format where you're playing big planeswalkers. You're playing big creatures, like you're playing your Ishkanars. You're playing your 6-mana Sorin Grim Nemesis. You're playing your Chandra Flameclaws. You're tapping out for these big creatures that matter. They impact the board, and Standard is all about board presence, all about battlefield presence, and big board states and managing combat math and managing the board state. That is what Standard originally was supposed to be about. That's what Wizards said it's about. That was the direction they wanted to move. But one of the most disappointing things for me was, although that was the direction that they wanted to move with the format, they've gone and printed Felidar Guardian. And this is why Felidar Guardian needs a ban. The Felidar Guardian Saheeli combo deck can kill you with 6 mana. Once they have 6 mana, they can kill you out of nowhere. And this is bad for Standard. It means you can't play Ishkanar. You can't play Sorin Grim Nemesis, Chandra Flamecaller. You can't play these big mana threats. It restricted what people could play. Basically, the only deck that had the threat efficiency and spells that were like 3 CMC or less, bar maybe like a couple top-end things, was Mardu Vehicles. So yeah, you had your Gideon, and you had a couple of copies of Avacyn, but all in all, most of Mardu Vehicles is relatively cheap, like in CMC cost. Guardian basically warps the format worse than what Emrakul did. If your argument for getting rid of Emrakul was it was warping the format and there was nothing sort of worthwhile playing other than an Emrakul deck, then how do you justify leaving in? How can you justify leaving in the Saheeli Rai combo? I'm telling you right now, if the Saheeli Rai combo does not get a ban today, it will be by and far the best deck in Standard. By a long shot. Because unlike Mardu, it's got a lot of new toys. Mardu hasn't really received a lot of new toys. And there's been quite a lot of new ways to kill, like new answers to beat Mardu. That Manglehorn is a huge game. You could mainboard that card. You've got access to a new Shatter effect, a new like Shattering Spree style card, which is 1 red and X, destroy X artifacts. There's now Magma Spray, the Scrap Heap Scrounger. So you can see how there's a lot of answers for you to tweak your deck against Mardu. Now, yes, I'm not saying there's new toys to beat the Saheeli combo. Agreed. Manglehorn stops the combo because all the Guardians are artifacts. They enter tapped. All the copies are artifacts. You've also got that black enchantment, 1 black and colorless. Whenever an opponent has a creature on the battlefield, you lose 1. You draw. You lose 1 life, and the opponent gains 1 life. Or you gain the life. You gain the opponent. Sure, these are all nice things, but anyone who's been playing Standard a lot knows that Saheeli Rai doesn't actually kill you a lot through the combo. It kills you a lot through making Thopters, having giant bristling hydras, Chandra Torture Defiance, Tameo. Now, with the inclusion of things like Cast Out, I wouldn't be surprised to see these 4-color Saheeli decks move to playing more Nahiris. Nahiri exiles problematic enchantments, and I think Standard's definitely become more enchantment focused in the coming months. But so at the same time, all they need to do is shift a few cards. Probably stop playing as many copies of Torture Defiance and start playing more Nahiri. They'll kill you other ways, what I'm getting at. The other card I'd like to see banned is definitely Gideon Ally of Zendikar. It's clear from the fact that we have a new Gideon that R&D was on the old rotation schedule. They didn't expect there to be double Gideons in the format. So and basically we don't really need Gideon's sort of like in this spot where you wouldn't play any other 4-drop in your deck. You just wouldn't. Like if you're playing white in your deck, you're playing Gideon at 4. That's just it. Whereas with this new Gideon, after testing, I don't think that's necessarily the case, because he's white on turn 3, and that's much more difficult than turn 4 white. So his mana is even more prohibitive, and he doesn't actually impact the board when he comes down. He comes down, ticks up to 4 loyalty, blanks one of your threats, but he hasn't. So he's tempoed the game a little bit by slowing your damage, but he doesn't actually create a knight. Doesn't leave anything behind if you just untap Ruinous Path that guy. So I don't see him as big as a threat. He hasn't been testing as strong as Ally of Zendikar. And it's almost like I'd rather just have Ally of Zendikar if I had to choose between the two of the cards to play. Now, there's been other people who said they'd like to see maybe more bans, Mardu vehicles. Like they've talked about wanting to ban Heart of Kiran. Look, Fatal Push is in the format at the end of the day. Heart of Kiran is a super strong card, but there's going to be more answers than we've had before to artifacts in this new set. And Heart of Kiran, and I think if you ban the Felidar Guardian combo, green-black becomes great again, and green-black mid-range, all the mid-range decks will rise up, and they will probably put a foot down onto Mardu's dominance of the format. You'll see all these Fatal Push decks rising up, and they're going to basically have a field day killing Heart of Kirans. So, because I mean, green-black was always one of Mardu's worst matchups, but green-black could not handle taking on Saheeli, which is why it got pushed to the 2nd tier rung of standard. So I don't think Heart of Kiran needs a ban. Get him out of Zendikar, get him out of here. As for other decks, I mean, people have talked about ban Marvel and then bring back in Emrakul. You can't bring Emrakul back. I'm telling you now, they won't bring Emrakul back. Perhaps they will unban Reflector Mage. Perhaps. But they couldn't unban Reflector Mage without entirely banning the Saheeli combo. Like, could you imagine Reflector Mage into Guardian into Saheeli off I go? That'd be ridiculous. So this cat here, get him out. He's 2 format warping. He's a pain to deal with, and I don't have to deal with him personally. I know a lot of players feel the same. What sort of decks could rise up if Gideon of Zendikar and Felidar Guardian are banned? Well, Control would be great again. That I can guarantee you. Control would be good. It'd actually be viable. And it would also be the return of standard to mid-range. And let's be honest, mid-range decks are magic. They got the most play. They have the most value-orientated game plans. Mid-range versus mid-range is magic at its core. It's resource management, resource trading. It's not just, oh, look, I gotcha. Here's my assembled cards. I'm a Legacy Storm player. I love a good gotcha as much as the next man. But that's Legacy. Legacy has force of will. It has ways to deal with that stuff. Standard, it's not about that. You can't really compare Modern, Standard, and Legacy because it doesn't really make a lot of sense to compare them. They're different formats doing different things with different objectives. So, ban Felidar, ban Ally of Zendikar, let the format open up. And I hope by the time you guys see this video, I'm speaking in the past, and this has all come to pass. Now let's see if these things don't happen. If it doesn't happen, or fatal push. That's probably the most expensive card I've opened so far. If this doesn't come to pass, you're going to see Saheeli Rai take over Standard for another 6 months or so, and you're not going to get much change up to the format. This much is definitely obvious. And I mean, for myself, that would be a shame, because Standard is the primary way to qualify for RPTQs and the Pro Tour here in Australia. But also, I know for the casual scene, it's just going to feel oppressive. Nobody seriously enjoys the same format just being drummed out over and over again. One of my biggest things I love about Standard is that whenever there's a deck that I hate playing, and I'm thinking back to think Return to Ravnica, Sphinx's Revelation decks. You know, I was just so back then I was pretty new to the game, and I was just like, I hate playing against these damn control decks all the time. They feel impossible to beat. Well, the thing is, you've only got to put up with it for a year, and then the rotations come. I was a fan of the faster rotations. I know Wizards have taken that back since, but just the fact that Standard's a rotating format really encourages people maybe not coping so well with certain decks. So moving on from Standard and BANS, let's talk about pre-release. Yeah, I had pre-release. Oh, damn. Hold the conversation. We've got a masterpiece, and it's a modern playable masterpiece. We've got I don't think you can really see that very well. The camera looks pretty blurry. It's an Oblivion Stone. My webcam ain't doing it justice, I'll tell you that. She's a good looker. Let's sleeve that bad boy up. Sleeve that up straight away. So I did a couple of pre-releases, 2 standard pre-releases, two sealed pre-release, and one 2-headed giant pre-release. I actually wrote some notes down for myself about the format. Obviously, I want to learn it as much as possible leading up to the RPTQ. So I just wrote a few notes down, and I'll share with you guys my thoughts. Maybe you can tell me your own thoughts, your own experiences, how you felt playing the format. So, first one's first. The features of the format. We've got cycling, we've got embalm, we've got the exert, and I also found is there is a lot of really great top end in sealed, Ahrmonket Sealed, that is it's like a lot of good 6 and 7 drop top end at the low rarity levels, at common and uncommon. And basically, this makes deck building really interesting, because cycling is a mechanic that it fixes mana screw, but it doesn't really fix mana flood. Flooding, it doesn't really help. I mean, it kind of does, because you have excess mana, you cycle away and you try to find something relevant. But really, I found myself, whenever I was trying to hit land drops, just, cycling away if I only had 4 lands and I didn't have another land in hand, I just EOT, cycle away like a 6-drop creature, go to find that land. So on one hand, you've got this mechanic that basically it wants you to it wants you to play less lands. It encourages you to play less lands because you don't need as many. Because you're going to get through that mana screw. But on the other hand, you have Embalm in the format, which is a mana sink. When you got lots and lots of mana, you got like 8-10 mana or something like that, which happens in Sealed, just sitting around. You can just like, oh, okay, I'll just pay 7 mana and I'll reanimate this. I'll embalm this creature. So embalming is a flood fixer. So you've got a screw fixer and a flood fixer with a lot of top end. So lands in your decks, it's going to depend a lot kind of on how your deck is built. Have you got a lot of cycling? So you can play less lands. But you have a lot of really good embalm creatures that you know you're going to want to be embalmed. Like, have you just cracked an Angel of Sanctions and you know you're embalming that bad boy for 7 after they answer it the first time? Well, then you kind of need to play a bit more lands. So I think before this format's over, we're going to see in the coming months, we're going to see sealed decks and draft decks playing, or actually probably not draft decks. I don't know much about draft yet. I'm mostly just playing sealed. But you're going to see sealed decks with 15 lands. No worries. 14, 15 lands. And then you see other sealed decks in the same format with 17, 18 lands, depending on their pool. It felt like, after playing those 4 pre-releases, it felt like a really skill testing format. I think a player I was talking to last night was talking about how it was, to him, it reminded him of Sealed of old, in that like it was, the format's slow enough that it's very slow. Card advantage is key. You have lots of time to set up little engines and synergies, and really your curving out is less important. Unlike, say, this Aether Revolt Sealed was actually pretty aggressive. This format's not that aggressive. Even with the Exert decks, you kind of have a lot of time to set up. So, and because the format's slow enough, you can really splash powerful cards. So, like, that 1 black and 3 4-mana instant exile target creature. Excuse me. Exile target creature. Well, that bad boy is just great, and you would be looking to splash that if you ever got it in your into your sealed. If you ever had it in your sealed pool, and you can splash easily enough through Evolving Wilds. There's a filter land, and there's fixing as well if you're in green. So that, if we think the format's slow enough, one of my big 4-0s over the weekend, I didn't win a single dice roll. So is play or the draw better for Ahrmonket Sealed? Well, at this stage, I honestly can't say what. This might be the format where, for once, it might just be better to be on the draw. Get that extra card. Get that extra answer. So the other thing is, in the set, there's obviously a lot of really great bombs, really great answers. Glorybringer has to be the most oppressive card of Sealed, though. If we play against a red deck on the top tables, you should probably expect they have Glorybringer. It would almost be the reason why they're there. It should have been a mythic. It should have been a mythic. Being a rare, it really skews the Sealed format, because Glorybringer is just very, very good. It comes down, kills your best threat, hits you for 4, and then you have like 2 turns to draw an answer to it. The other thing that a lot of pros say, and something that I've sort of just been taking on recently, is there's a lot of great combat tricks in this format, and you should be using the combat tricks offensively, not defensively. What I mean by that is you don't really want to be blowing your combat trick on I'll block your guy, and now I'm going to give my guy +2/+2 to kill your guy. That's not really great magic, apparently. Again, this is coming from guys, way more magic experience than me. So I defer to the authority on this matter. But basically, what I'm getting at is you want to be using them offensively. So you want to be like, I'll attack. and combat trick to push my damage through, the next time, the way, the effect this has on the game is, for the next turn you just go attack. You might have nothing, but your opponent's thinking, oh, in game 2 and 3, oh, in game 1 I got blown out by this spell. I really don't want to get blown out. I don't want to lose this creature. It's high value to me, so I'm just going to let damage through. And in which case you just get free damage. You might even have the spell. But now you don't need to cast it because you just got free damage, and you can save it to the time you need it. So forcing your opponents to play scared, and that's one of my favorite things in Magic, is to play in a way that my opponent is scared, to play in a way that that they are reacting to me and I'm not reacting to them. That's my sort of way that I like to. I want to. If I can maneuver and jockey myself into a position in a game that I'm in the driver's seat, then I'm going to do that every time. So Sealed is a bit slower. It's a bit slower now, and it's highly skill testing. So for good players, people who put in the time learning Sealed, I think you're going to be rewarded. I think you're really going to get the value out of this. It's not going to be like Dragons of Tarkir kind of was, where it's like, oh look, I cracked a big ass dragon. Guess I'm winning all my rounds. It's not really going to be like that. You know, you've got great answers in like that. I told you about that black instant, but you also have Exquisite Archangel. Huh. Interesting one. Yeah, so you're not going to actually like loot. There's a lot of great answers, even for that like indestructible angel that's in the format. It's like 7 mana, 4/4 indestructible flyer. You've got cast out at uncommon. You've got the 1 black and 4 instant exile uncommon. You have all these cards at uncommon rarity, which is just perfect. Just perfect for dealing with big threats that would be coming in. Big threats that come in at the rare and mythic level. There's that damn cat again. My favorite archetype has to be the blue-white Embalm, sort of blue-white tempo. I played like a more control. I played like a heavy control shell with like I cracked 4 of the hieroglyphic investigation, I think it is. I'm probably butchering that name. It's the draw 2 cards, instant speed for 4 mana. I cracked 4 of those. I only ended up playing 3, but I mean, card advantage was a huge thing. The other thing is there seems to be a lot of board stalling in the format. So when you're building your sealed pool, probably look or consider cards that maybe aren't great by their own, but you could see them pushing damage through a board stall. So one game went really long, and I had about 9 mana. And I drew a sorcery, which isn't very good by itself, but I just played a 1-of in my deck, and I eventually drew to it after sitting around on the board stall forever. It's blue, and X. And X target creatures become unblockable, and when they hit your opponent for damage, you draw a card. So I just made 7 creatures unblockable, the 7 biggest creatures we had, and we just killed the opponent. That was it. After board stalling for a long time. So, you know, you can see that I think there's going to be a lot of changes to the Sealed in comparison to what we've had in recent memory. I think one of the best things is that maybe if we see a ban with the cat return to mid-range, the format's going to slow down. People aren't going to die on turn 6 or turn 4 combo anymore, and people are not going to be facing down. People are going to have more answers to tempo down a Mardu aggressive start, and they won't have to worry about that Gideon top end. So they know that once they've answered those early threats, they can then start pulling the game back and stabilizing. Guys, I know I've rattled on a bit. and this video might not even be very interesting, but these are my thoughts moving forward for the new format. I'm keen to just play a lot more games. You're going to see heaps of sealed from me starting today. As soon as the sealed format gets released, I'll be straight on it. As of right now, Ahrmonket is not out, but it is coming. It is coming for sure. Until then, expect some Legacy Cube action. There's there's 2 days left of Legacy Cube, so I'll play say 2 or 3 cube, upload them for some fun, see me do some degenerate things hopefully, and catch you guys on the channel next time. Thanks for viewing. See you later.